social media stuff, and it's like I can't really quantify like the money here, you know, if there are opportunities for business, but you never know how much of an impact you can make on someone when you share a story. And you are incredible at sharing stories, whether it be on TV here, but also in your social media. And the people will remember the feeling of the stories you share for a long time. And so I acknowledge you for diving into this chapter, whether you do it for years or a few more months of social media. But sharing your knowledge for free is an incredible gift that you're giving to the world, and I acknowledge you for that. And I acknowledge you for bringing the joy when you share. Thank you. Yeah. My final question, Robert, what's your definition of greatness?
Wow. Geez, it's such a great question because my dad was a great man. And my mom was a great person. And my definition of greatness would be fulfillment of potential. Mm-hmm. So my dad never made any real money. But I think considering the pain and life he had, that man run every moment of his life. Yeah. So if I did nothing but what my dad did, that wouldn't have been great because I was given more. Mm. Those that are given more need to do more. Those that have been given more need to find greater purpose. So I never think that it just wasn't enough. Right? Like I couldn't have achieved any level of greatness if I just simply did what my parents did. And I think a lot of people listening, it's the same thing. That you've got to find your own purpose. Yeah. Right. That's good. What's your definition of greatness?
I'm trying to see if it's different from what I had a couple of years ago. For me, it is to discover your unique talents and gifts that you've been given and pursue those gifts to live your dreams. And in the pursuit of those dreams, make the maximum impact on the people around you.
Wow.
Yeah. Because we've all been given different talents and gifts that we need to learn to cultivate. And then I think we're given cues, feelings of what dreams we might have. There's curiosity, there's something that pulls us into an idea for a dream, something. Whether it's God or intuition or feeling, it's pulling us, or making us think about things. I'd like to create that, I'd like to build that, I'd like to overcome that, I'd like to help this thing, I'd like to make this thing. Something that pulls us. And then we need to cultivate the talents and gifts within us to pursue that dream. And in that pursuit, I think it doesn't have to be changing the world, but it needs to be changing the world around you. Impacting the world in a positive way around you. If that's 5 people in your family, that's beautiful. Based off to what your mom and dad did, they impacted you. And the people in their community, that was their reach. And you've been given different gifts and talents that you've cultivated and maximized to this level, and you feel like you've got to maximize more to the next level. And in that pursuit of the new dream, how will you impact people around you? The people closest to you, but also the platform you've been building, how will you impact those individuals? So well said, because I think, it goes back to God's faith that there is no one external that's going to do it for you, but the signs are there. And you never know how the dots connect until you look back. When Kevin and I first got on Shark Tank, we started in Canada. We started a show called Dragon. And the very first day, they put me in a room, and just to see how you react on TV like this. Sure. And they throw these fire questions like, tell me what eat I was like random questions. Yeah. What did you say? Just to see what I said, so I can get an answer to the Shut up.
So this is the
And everybody laughed. I did 100%. Everybody laughed and thought that was good. What people didn't see was 10 years before that, my mom favorite show was dancing. So imagine little Eastern European immigrant woman, horrible life, watching this beautiful show with these beautiful dancers. Like if you called my house on Monday, little shows on, my mom would like answer the phone and go, like, why you call? I watch shows. My mom is very, and she went to the hospital. She was there for a year. Every Monday, I would go to the hospital with the other women who had ovarian cancer, and we'd all watch dancing. Wow. And one day, my mom says to me, Robbie, you're so beautiful. Why not you be on the show? And I say, without thinking about it, if they ever ask me, I'll do it for you. Wow. And my mom passes away. 10 years before I even had an inkling of being on TV. Fast forward 10 years later, I'm sitting in the room, they throw that question at me. First thing. Fast forward another time. I'm going through this horrible time. I come out of it, fix myself, finally begin to think I have value in life again. 3 days later, the producers of Dancing with the Stars asked me to be on the show. Like before they're finished asking me, I say, yeah. Oh my gosh. I walk in, wow, meet the woman I'm going to marry, and today I have this unbelievable life. I didn't create those thoughts. I believe life or a greater force or God, whatever your faith is, created those things. But it was up to me to connect the dots. And I think for anybody watching or listening, you have the power to connect those dots. Wow. You have to have enough faith to believe it all connects, but you still got to get up every day, work your ass off, and make it happen.
We have some similarities in life. I mean, obviously you're much more successful than me, but when I was sleeping on my sister's couch, I would watch that show. Dancing with Stars, and I was living in Columbus, Ohio, and I was like broke, and I was like, but I loved to salsa dance. I started learning how to salsa dance after when I was on my sister's couch. This is one of the things I was talking about before, and I learned public speaking and salsa dancing because they were big fears of me. So I watched this show, and I traveled the world eventually salsa dancing in clubs, like social salsa dancing, not ballroom, not just for like 18 years. I've been traveling the world. You must be the biggest salsa dancer, biggest Ringo salsa dancer ever, right? And I remember thinking, gosh, wouldn't it be amazing to be on the show one day? I wasn't famous. I had no money. But I was like, you need to become famous in order to get on this show. And that was like, since I've been in LA for 12 years, I've always wanted to be on the show. It's a great show. I've always wanted to be on the show. So maybe one day I'll fulfill that as well. All you do is their producers. Give me cash, right? Yeah, exactly. I'm better. I'm trying to pitch and stuff. Something out there. Many years I've tried.
I mean, obviously, great experience. I'm sure it has. And the hardest experience,
I can imagine.
Right? People don't realize how hard.
8 hours a day of training and the whole thing. And yeah. I know a lot of the dancers as well. And they're friends of mine. I love the show. It's great. One day, maybe I'll do it. If it's still on air, maybe I'll make it. Well, it's have a dream. Exactly. Well, this is powerful. I appreciate you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you, May. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you got some value from this episode as much as I did. If you did, please do me a favor and click the like button right now. If you like this, it's going to help share it out into the YouTube world even more for us. Please click that like button and leave a comment below on your biggest takeaway, or if you have any questions that you want me to follow up with. Also, subscribe to our channel, because when you do, you help us book even bigger guests. And I want you to have the best information out there in the world because that's what the School of Greatness is all about. So make sure to subscribe right now, like this video, share a comment below on your biggest takeaway. And also, I've got some big news. A new book. If you're looking to create financial freedom in your life, you want more abundance, you want a richer life, then make sure to check out my new book, Make Money Easy. I think you're going to love this. It's all about creating financial freedom. The link is below in the description, or you can go to makemoneyeasybook.com and check it out.
She said to me something really interesting. I asked her why she was so successful. She was. She said, I do something very ordinary and almost boring, but I do it every day. She takes a sticky note and she writes 3 things she has to get done before she texts, answers any calls, or does anything.
Not much longer now, and I will also take to the skies.
Me too.
You? No, you will always be a worm.
Just wait and see.
Red Bull gives you wings.
Not much longer now, and I will also take to the skies.
Me too.
You? No, you will always be a worm.
Just wait and see.
Red Bull gives you wings.
Ever want somebody telling me again that I can't do what I want to do. I don't want to feel the control of another human on top of me. Money is freedom. The more money you have, the more you get to exert your will on the world.
What are the things that broke people think they're supposed to do to get wealthy that will never work?
I'll say
Say,
it's never going to get you to rich. It's way easier to earn more than it is to save everything. Once you learn how to earn, you're unstoppable.
Cody Sanchez, an award-winning journalist, chief founder of Contrarian, positions amassed millions of followers and now educates people on the basics of finance. The wonderful Cody Sanchez.
You need to learn the work of game. If you want to make money, you have to learn to work.
If you want to make money, you're going to have to shut the fuck up.
You can get to $1 million working for somebody else working really hard. But if you want to go to that $10 million mark, you got to do something different. Every human in their life has an energy vampire.
Sure
If
it
you
is.
want to be successful, you have to realize that you are going to leave.
No, we
behind
do.
most people.
what would be a 5, 6, or 7-step formula be? I'm going from zero, from broke to millionaire.
Very first thing is we say at our company,
It's been so amazing.
Last year was just a transformative, life-changing event.
team greatness is great.
My name is Lewis House. Thanks so much for being here. And before we dive into this special video today, I
Before we
wanna remind you
dive
about
in.
the Summit of Greatness, our annual conference happening this September in Los Angeles with David Goggins, Dr. Joe Dispenza, and many more incredible speakers and performers. There will be so many live attendees there that you can meet with, you can network with, and you can help transform your life. Make sure to click the link in the description to get your tickets. And I can't wait to see you at the Summit of Greatness here in Los Angeles. Before we jump into this video, I wanted to let you know a big announcement. Cody Sanchez is speaking live here in Los Angeles at our annual Summit of Greatness event. If you're looking for the next level of breakthroughs in your life and specifically in your money and business, make sure to click the link in the description and come live to hear Cody Sanchez along with David Goggins, Joe Dispenza, and more at the Summit of Greatness. And now let's jump into this episode with Cody Sanchez. Welcome back, everyone. It's School of Greatness. Very excited about our guest here, the inspiring Cody Sanchez in the house. Good to see you.
Thanks for
being
having me.
Yeah, very excited about this. You've taken off in the last few years really about teaching and educating individuals about what I think is financial freedom and new ways of looking at money and how to earn more in your life. But I'm curious, when was the moment that you believed you were deserving of earning more than what everyone else thinks they should be making? Was there a moment or moments where you're like, I actually believe it's possible to earn more?
Yeah. Well, first it actually started from a moment where I felt the most unlikely, like I would never be able to make enough money. And it wasn't that tragic, but it was, I was in college and I didn't have any money like all college students don't. And I remember my mom would like track my bank account to see how close it was to going under. And then she would sort of get on me about anything I bought. It would be like, what are you doing with that? What are you doing here? And I felt this intense control. And I didn't like it. And, I was like, it's my money. I'll do what I want. If I overdraft,
It's my money and I need to know.
and that
I need to know.
was like
That's how it was in there.
trigger of my little inner rebel. And at that point, I was like, I don't ever want somebody telling me again that I can't do what I want to do. And I don't want to feel the control of another human on top of me. And so for me, money is freedom. And I think it is really your ability to push back on the universe. Like the more money you have, the more you get to exert your will on the world. And the less money you have, the more you get exerted upon. And so I didn't like that.
Right.
And so that was the moment that I was like, I don't ever want that to happen again. And then the moment where I was like, ooh, I think I can actually do this was when, do you remember like the first time you met a really rich person and you were like, they're not that smart. And I had one of those moments where I met,
Like, how's this person?
yeah, I was like, what? This guy? Like, he didn't inherit it. He didn't give it to him. Right. But and it was at a company called Vanguard, and there was one of the really senior executives there. And I remember asking him a question that for some reason I knew about our segment of the business, and he had no idea what he was talking about. And I was like, oh, that's fascinating. So you're a millionaire, which to me felt like $1 billion, and yet you don't understand this thing.
Wow.
And if he
Well, what
doesn't,
did he understand?
yeah, well, I don't think I was smart enough then to know that.
Right.
You know what I mean? I was like, this guy's dumb. And sometimes I think that is a benefit,
Oh, it is.
almost not realizing that he probably had these other superpowers and instead being like, well, if he doesn't know that, that means he's not flawless, which means I could probably do it too.
How old were you then?
I would have been 21.
21.
Yeah, before then I was broke. I was like broke. I was always falling in and out of having cash. I was always overdrawing. I was always worried when I would go to swipe the card, there would be enough cash
You're
there.
stressed out about it.
Yeah.
What are the things that broke people think they're supposed to do to get wealthy that will never work?
Save.
Save.
It's never going to get you to rich.
Saving money. Only saving money.
Yeah, you can only save your way to zero, right? You can save your way to like not spending anything, I guess, if you don't need to eat or live or have fun. But it's way easier to earn more than it is to save everything. And I do think that there's a benefit to things like the FIRE community and whatever. Spend less, sure. But actually, once you learn how to earn, you're unstoppable. And I don't think anybody becomes unstoppable by saving. In fact, you get very scarcity mindset. It's really hard, I think, to earn like crazy if you're obsessed with saving. And so I actually think those two ideas might be in conflict. It'd be interesting to have a debate with Dave about it, because I think really, really rich people do not think about saving at a 10-to-1 ratio of earning.
Really?
Yeah.
So are they saving something?
Yeah, I just don't think that they think about how can every one of my dollars be more productive. So we think almost upside instead of downside. People who are saving think, how can I not spend anything? People who are earning and growing think, how can I make every dollar that I spend bring friends when it comes back to me? And I think that's the material
Multiplying
difference. Right. As opposed to just, can I just see it over here under the mattress? My parents did that forever. And I love them dearly. They're brilliant people, but they do not understand how to make more money at a really high level.
What would be the 3 best ways to have your money make you more money that doesn't take all the time in the world, all the risk in the world, and all the stress in the world? Because some people start taking on these different investment strategies or buying businesses, and they realize they're spending double the amount of time on their job or their career or another business trying to fix something or try to grow something. Seems like it's exhausting, or maybe it fails.
Yeah.
What would be those 3 things that you think would help multiply your money?
Yeah. Well, the very first thing you have to do is maximize your earnings potential. That's zero risk.
Yeah.
The zero risk way to make a lot of money is to make the most humanly possible with your skill set. And most people don't do that. In fact, only 30% of people will ever negotiate their salary without proactively having the company come back to them. Now, don't be ask for stuff that you're not worth. But I really think that maximization of income is super important. And then the second thing I think you should do on top of it is not just think about how you can earn more, but how can you, within your sphere of influence, get paid more for doing the same activity. And so that might be like, for instance, don't just ask for more money, negotiate upside. So, for your podcast team, for instance, if they wanted to make more, I would say, hey, you pay me $75,000 a year to edit this podcast and produce it. If I was able to grow it by X over goal, would you bonus me out for that?
100%.
Of course you would. Why does nobody ever ask their boss that? And also, by the way, people listen to this on the internet and completely ignore it. It's the weirdest thing. It's almost like they don't want to hear about these two things. They don't want to have short-term pain for long-term gain.
We also have to have the belief in the confidence that you can grow and add more value. And a lot of people don't think, maybe they think they can and then they try and they fail and they say, oh, well, I'll just take what I can get. So if you can actually have the confidence and the skill to go help your company grow a certain sector, you should be rewarded if you can really track and say, this is what I did to increase my skills, my own time or company time. This is how I applied it. And this is how I consistently got more growth or more revenue.
Yeah.
You can do that. Maybe you're an all-star 18 player.
Yeah.
That's what an 18 player is.
Yeah, it's true. I think the part that people don't realize, though, is that even if you don't win by hitting your goal, you still win because you're getting paid to learn.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
So much.
it's such a huge opportunity to say, like, hey, are you going to fire somebody because they didn't hit an extra goal they put on top of them?
No.
Of course not.
If they're saying, I want to try to get these goals, you can fail at half of them. You
Yeah.
get some of them, it's like, hey, you're ambitious, you're showing your time. It's
100%.
great.
And you're doing the thing that people actually need to do to progress in their career, which is like take the next job before you do the next job. And I don't think enough people do that.
Right.
When I was at
Say that
state,
one more time.
not enough people take the next job or do the next job before they get the next job.
What do they try to do instead?
They try to get the next job and get the pay before they're actually capable of it. Which, to be fair, is a terrible thing for you to do often. Perfect example, I had a guy who came from operations and wanted to have a bigger job in marketing. And I gave him that opportunity, but I said, hey,
From a different company?
from the same company, so I worked in this part of my business, wanted this part of my business, but wanted a bigger job with more pay. And I said, okay, you can go ahead and do it, but this has really big goals associated with it. So if you can't hit those goals, you don't get to stay at the company,
Or you're getting demoted back to something else?
which I don't really do. I don't really demote.
You
It's
get
either,
demoted, you're gone or you figure it out.
exactly.
Why don't you demote?
I have never had it work out well. After somebody takes a step back in a company,
They've kind of gone
they're gone.
emotionally.
Mentally. It's bad for them. It's bad for the company.
Yeah.
It's bad for morale. And so, and in this instance, the guy couldn't hit the goals. So we had to part ways. And instead, I should have, if I was a better leader back then, I would have said, I think you should try it first. And I can pay you some success if you hit it, but I don't think you're ready to do the full job. And so that was actually my fault.
What's the difference between,
It's like,
giving someone an opportunity
it's
and,
crazy because it's
a
like,
lot of
it's like,
mistakes,
it's
mistakes,
heavy, heavy.
versus
Like,
bringing them back or however you want to call it until you think they're ready?
Yeah, when you run a startup like this one was, there's just not a lot of room for error. And so at a big company, you get opportunity to make a lot of mistakes.
You can hide more.
You can hide way more.
Startup, you need to get results in everything. You can see everything.
Otherwise it hurts the overall business, which hurts the rest of the employees. So I think in that instance, there just wasn't a lot of opportunity.
Right.
But the beautiful part about going and being an employee for somebody else at a big company or taking on these extra jobs is there's room to run, and it's not your money you're learning on.
You're getting paid to master skills.
MBA plus make six figures. That's what working for somebody else is if you're a go-getter.
Yes.
And then stay there until you stop learning. At least that's what I did.
Right.
Yeah.
You talk a lot about kind of a millionaire mindset in a lot of your content. If there was a formula that you have seen over the years, personally or others who have gone from zero to millions, what would the kind of 5, 6, or 7-step formula be on going from broke to millionaire?
Really buying a car online on Auto Trader?
Really? And I'm getting it from a local dealer. Can you really be that picky with your search? Really?
You can really buy a car from a beat lot.
Really? We're really getting the car at the dealership now? Really? Yeah, buy your car online on Auto Trader. Really?
Really?
Well, the very first thing is we say at our company, I'll take curiosity over IQ any day of the week, and I'll take follow through over experience any day of the week. So really, being a millionaire and making a lot of money is you doing two things: asking a lot of questions and doing the things you say you're going to do. which is beautiful. What a low bar that actually is. And yet most people don't. Why don't we do the things we say we're going to do? We're overwhelmed. We overcommit. You know, our word doesn't mean something. Our word is not our bond. And what I found from people who are successful is when they say they're going to do something, they do it. And they probably do more than what they say they were going to do. And they also ask a lot of questions. Like, you know, I have a friend of mine that had dinner with Warren Buffett. And I remember asking him, I'm like, Alex, what'd you learn? And he's like, you know what I figured out? By the end of the dinner, after we were shaking hands, I realized he just asked me questions. I didn't get anything. He didn't really tell me anything. And he just took all the information that I had and he made me feel good about it. And I think that is what the wealthiest people do. They actually ask a ton of questions because the right questions are worth so much more than you showing another person how smart you are.
Right. What would you say are other things that rich people do that broke people don't do?
I mean, rich people do not try to look rich, typically. Really wealthy people do not care about looking rich. Broke people care about looking rich.
Why?
It's a signal, right? At a certain point, you know, when you don't have money, you probably don't have a lot of confidence. You probably have a little bit more imposter syndrome. Once you start making a lot of money, you know, there's actually a lot of downside to being rich, you know, which is people want it. People want handouts. The IRS is coming out of your pocket. And so I think at a certain point, you start changing your game. And it becomes a lot more important, your confidence level, how you execute, than just what you wear or show. So care a lot more about being rich than looking rich is a big difference. And the other thing is, you know, rich people trade in knowledge. You know, they typically do not ask for favors. They give favors because they know that there is a price to asking for things.
Yeah.
And broke people do the opposite. They try to take, ask too many favors.
Yeah.
And I did this wrong too. You know, when you're young, you're like, hey, can I work for you?
Yeah.
And you know, you could just pay me a little bit.
And teach me everything you know. Like,
You're
can I just be by you all day long and watch you and just like, I just want to shadow you for months.
right.
And take up all your time and resources.
Exactly.
Please.
And that's what I asked. You know, I would ask ridiculous things like that. And then as I got wealthier, I realized, ooh, time's the only thing we can't make more of. And I'm wasting a bunch of people's time. And that's not the move. So how can I be a gift giver of time and not a taker of time? And I don't think poor people think that way.
Wow.
You know, and I get it because it's constrained, right? Like Chris and I back in the day, we lived in DC for a period. We didn't realize that we bought things. And DC is kind of like block by block in some areas. So we lived in the hood. Like it was like not a nice part of town at all. What was fascinating though is that we would talk to some of the people who had been longtime, residents. And, you know, there was one young lady and, she had never, her father was like in his 80s probably, and he had never left the District of Columbia, never been on a plane, never been on a train. And she was really interesting too because a lot of people would sit outside and they'd want to hang out and they'd want to talk for a long time. And we were just busy. We didn't have that much time. And so she kind of picked up on that. It was like, hey, can I walk you back to and from the gym? Like when you walk to and back from the gym, can we go?
Who's a neighbor?
There's a neighbor, young girl. She wanted to go to college. She was the first one in her family to go to college. It was really interesting because she would just ask us questions as we were on the go. And lo and behold, got into Howard, figured out where she wanted to go next and what she wanted to do. But I think that was the difference. They would waste a lot of time sitting outside, kind of with this idea that time was abundant. And she was the opposite. She was like, I know you don't have time. Can I take up a little bit of it while I walk?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. And I don't know the story if they're just out there watching all day, but there's usually if you're with the same people, watching others, you're judging, you're assessing, you're gossiping. I'm not saying they're doing that, but that's kind of a general theme. If you're not asking questions and bettering yourself, you have time to allow your mind to go into a negative place a lot of times.
100%.
Judge, assess, make wrong, compare, whatever.
Yeah. And, and also I think it became cool to not strive.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, in the neighborhood, a lot of the young kids would, they were kind of goofing around and they would sort of make fun of, her ambitions. And, and because I think if you don't make it, but you say you never wanted it, then you don't feel like a failure. Like I didn't want it anyways,
Right.
right?
Didn't matter to me.
Didn't matter to me. I didn't even try. But if you actually want it really bad and then you don't get it, ooh, am I going to survive that? So I think it's really easy to fall into that mentality.
What do you think is for those that do want it and they do make it? What is the biggest mistake that people make when they reach $100,000 or $1 million or millions? What's the biggest mistake at that point they make?
I think your first 100,000 and your first million, your biggest mistake is thinking that the thing that you got you to 100K is going to get you to 10 million. The thing that got you to 100K will probably get you to $1 million, but it won't get you to 10 million.
It's just more hard work.
Yeah.
But not to 10 million.
Exactly. So that first 100K, you can do all of that working for somebody else, working really hard. You can get to $1 million working for somebody else, working really hard on the same thing. But if you want to go to that $10 million mark, you got to do something different.
What do you do different?
Typically, I think you have to get some skin in the game. This is when you have to start earning not just with your time and brain, but also with your money. So you've got to invest in something. You've got to understand deal structuring. You've got to get a little equity in something. You've got to become an owner in some way, shape, or form. It could be an owner inside of a business, but you've got to get some sort of upside potential. And I think that is where the public school system kind of stops teaching us.
Yeah, they don't teach it at all.
No.
So what would be the best strategy for someone to get equity in something, whether they're at a career currently or they're looking to start or join something where they could have equity that has big enough earning potential
Yeah.
to create more?
Let me tell you what not to do these
Yes.
days, I think. If you go back and you look at startup employees over the last 10 years and you look at what their equity options were worth. So you're like fancy, you went to Silicon Valley, you started off with an app, you worked really hard, you took a low salary because you have equity options. Most of those equity options are worthless today. They're not worth anything. They're underwater. And maybe one day they eventually will be. But I think people were sold a dream that they could eat equity. And you can't. You need earnings. And so what I would say to do is, yes, you could maybe be part of the next Facebook, but the likelihood is you're not. And so 90% of the startups fail. So I think we were sort of bag of lies there. And we have to be really careful that we don't bet only on equity. And, Chris, my husband, would tell you this. He was at a couple of companies where he thought equity, but that's not where we made our money. And so realizing that. The second thing I think that people should do, if you want to get some skin in the game, is the best way to do it is actually get your earnings going and ask to invest alongside. So, this is what private equity and private investing firms do. So we basically allow for what's called a club deal. So if you work at a private equity company, you typically can take some of your money that you make from the private equity fund and you can put it in deals. Wow. And so I think if you're listening to this and you're with a company today, try to think about how could you get a piece of maybe not even the company that you work for, of a deal that you bring to the company. And so nobody really does this outside of private equity, but somebody brought you a new ad sponsor for school fragrance. And it was a company that's going to pay you cash, but also is maybe small, right? And so they're up and coming. And they said, let's get some equity in this deal, plus, a little revenue share or something from them. If I bring you this deal, if I structure it for you, and maybe even I put in a little money for it, can I have a percentage of the company? And so this is the great unlock, I think, that once normal everyday people start understanding this, they can get equity while being employed, which is, I think, the best thing to do because it's hard to get enough money being an entrepreneur to invest in other things.
Yeah.
Most entrepreneurs have all their money tied up in our business.
What is the mindset that people need to start thinking about in order to choosing the right opportunities? Because 10, 12 years ago, I read 4 Hour Work Week, it was 15 years ago now, and it was all about investing in startups. And I think I invested in 7 or 8 startups, right? I didn't make money on any of those. And they were all come from credible resources. Other people were investing in them also that I trusted. It wasn't like there's just some random pitch deck.
Yeah.
It's okay, there's opportunities out there. None of them paid me anything. And it took so much of my time and energy to get on calls with people and help them and promote stuff. That was an education that I gained from it, but I didn't create wealth.
Yep.
I spent more time and energy helping people fail than I did getting a result, right? And so I learned a certain lesson there to put more resources back into my own progress, which are guaranteed a result if I'm going to be alive. So how can people get the mindset of knowing I'm going to invest in this, whether it be time, energy, money, talent, whatever it is. And hopefully I'm getting a return in 2, 5, 10 years.
So what I would say is, until you've made your first at least $1 million, don't invest in startups that are non-cash flowing. Just don't do it. And probably more than $1 million
Yeah.
in this environment. So that is for people who already have so much money that they can throw some chips on the table, just like at the casino, with the knowledge that 90% won't work. If I was young Cody again, what would I do? I would be investing in cash flowing businesses and deals.
Right.
And so instead of going and doing the crazy startup app, say, hey, why don't we own this vertical that we do business with right now? Hey, let's go in on an Airbnb for when our employees are traveling back and forth. And I can help manage the Airbnb for when our employees are traveling back and forth. We get rid of some of the costs that we have from flying people and putting them up in hotels. But simultaneously, we own a cash flowing asset that has real value today. So we own a little equity in it, but we also own the cash flow. We can get a portion of it. And it's so technical, and sometimes I think people get overwhelmed with these ideas. But if you just start thinking this one sentence, which is cash flow is king, and I don't invest in hopes and dreams, I invest in realities and revenue, right? That's what I do until I've made so much money that I'm like, no, now I can't do the same thing that got me to that first number. Now I got to do something else to get to 10 and 100. And it's not going to be Airbnbs, probably.
I mean, you've mastered the researching aspect and investing aspect in these kind of boring businesses. What would you say are 3 to 5 best cash flowing businesses if someone wanted to get into today?
Yeah. Well, there's lots of ways to look at this. I think the first thing that I like to look at is, what are the businesses that have the lowest failure rate with the highest potential for you to make money? Let's start there. And if we look at the numbers, that's why I started with laundromats. It's like a 90% success rate. They don't fail as often. They've been around a long time. They don't cost a ton of money. They don't make you a ton of money.
They'll make a lot of you, right?
No.
I'm not getting, you're not making millions, but you get $1 million of them.
Yeah. My first one was $67,000 in revenue. So not much cash. But that's okay, because you're starting to put a few chips on the table.
Yeah.
And those chips pay you back with consistency.
So how much did that first one cost?
100K-ish.
Not bad.
No, here's why it's bad. It's bad because it was a job. It was like a low-paying,
Full-time
it's a low-paying job for $67,000 a year, right?
in a laundromat.
Right. But then I go to sell it. If I can increase from $67,000 to, let's say, $200,000 in revenue, then I can sell that business for, $400,000, $600,000, $800,000. That's a pretty good payout, right? And so you can get it on the back end, and you can cash flow over time. And you learn without a lot of risk. Like, I didn't want to put hundreds of thousands of dollars down. It seemed like too much money for me like that. And so I would start with something like,
We're gonna stand by, or is everything still there? Wait. I'm wondering if it's still rolling like this though. I'm about to make this tea. And a few. Be back in a few.